tonight's guests, Zaza and one other. Hello there fellow citizens and welcome to the TV Gallery, the show that explains how the magic of TV shows are controlled through the studio gallery. Tonight we're joined by our special guest Zaza, a professional in the TV industry. She knows the ins and outs of it all, including the gallery monitors, which is what we're here to talk about today. Let's see what she has to tell us. Welcome, Zaza!
Hi Nick, thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, we're very happy to have you, especially as this is our first episode of the show and we wanted someone who really knows what they're talking about. Zaza has a film to show us explaining the roles and responsibilities of using the controls in a gallery.
Okay, show the film. Okay, yeah, it should be showing so you can just relax for a bit.
What's going on today? You know that I always review various tech, live streaming. What you've never seen is what I actually do with it. And one of the things that I do is work here. This place is a local TV station here in the UK. So I'm going to show you a bit about what we actually do. Right, come on, let's go. Here at the local TV station, we have to produce an enormous amount of content for a local audience. It's about 5 million people or so. There are a lot of different kinds of people. We're not BBC, ITV, Fox, CNN. So we've got to do it on a tighter budget. Come on through, we'll have a look at the gallery here. We've got to be a bit careful because there's a show in production at the moment, but come on through. So ordinarily with a gallery, you'd be locked away in a room which is soundproofed and all the rest of it, and you wouldn't be able to be disturbed. You wouldn't be able to have you guys coming along to have a look inside the gallery. Well, today is slightly different. Our gallery is just an extension to the office, and this is it. That A101ME essentially feeds 3 cameras from that other room. What we then need is bits of VT. So this particular show at the moment is a business affairs show. They'll talk about, run bits of videotape and what have you along the way. Now there are loads of different types of media players out there, and the one we spoke about recently, the HyperDeck Studio Mini, that's not what we use here. We use a slightly more bit of broadcast software. So over there is a system that's run by AQ. There are loads of other ones around, and I won't bore you with the details of it, but for the purposes of this, that section plays the videos through, and it plays them through as if it was a camera input. So those videos turn up here. There isn't a video playing at the moment, so you can't see one, but we can also see the camera inputs 1, 2, 3, and it's in a green screen. Note we've keyed out the background. One of the limitations of the ATEM system is if you want to switch from camera 1 to 2 to 3 and change the backgrounds throughout, well, you need 20 fingers to do it. But, or certainly you need a hardware control panel. To be pretty dexterous nonetheless. We use something different, a little bit of software called ATEM Plus. Well, it just takes control of one of the media players within the ATEM, and we can switch between them. A lot of the time when we do these live productions, and this one isn't as live production, so they finished part 1, they're about to do part 2, but the gallery operator here is also the guy who runs the studio. Through this gallery we produce 4 or 5 hours of news every single day, probably another 3 or 4 half-hour or 1-hour shows. The whole thing is generally driven by one person, and right next to the gallery we've got an iMac. You'll know if you've been watching these that I'm a big fan of Final Cut Pro, and one of the reasons is how reliable and versatile it is. So for our lunchtime news, we take the timeline from Final Cut, which you would normally, if you want to get something out of that like you would in Prem, you'd render it out, export it and send it to wherever you wanted it. It'd end up on that screen as a bit of VT. That's not what we do here. We actually plug the Mac into an input on the ATEM and use the AV output as the stream. So what we're doing is playing directly from the timeline straight out to air. It's really robust and it's never failed us. He's generally our go-to director. I say go-to, he's the only one we've got at the moment. He will control the vision mixing. He also controls the talkback, so he lets everybody in the studio know what's happening. He controls the audio, which is all of the levels here, which will be on the screen in front of him. And that will all get recorded, in this case, onto the server back there. It's exactly the same if we play it out live to air as well. Now, there'll be loads of questions and loads of things that I haven't covered in this piece, so you've got a little bit of time to get back to me on what you want to know, but that'll do for now. Bugger off.
So as you can see, the gallery plays a very important role in the TV industry and the functioning of shows.
Without the gallery, it would be very hard to control each section of a show. For example, cutting to different camera angles and using effects.
So without the gallery, I wouldn't be able to do this.
Precisely. To the audience, it will look like the presenter is in control of what's happening on the screen. However, that's not the case. In actual fact, it's the role of the floor manager.
So tell us, Zaza, what is the floor manager?
I'm glad you asked that. The floor manager is the eyes and the ears of the pre-production of the TV show. Or you could say that they're the bridge between the gallery and the TV crew. Without the floor manager, it will be impossible to communicate with the crew efficiently.
Now I think we understand that now, don't we, everyone? Well, thank you for coming on the show today, Zaza, to discuss how the TV gallery works. It's been very useful.
The pleasure is all mine, Nick.
If there's anything else you guys would like to know, don't hesitate to go to Zaza's website, where you'll find oodles of information on the TV gallery. You can find the link on our website. Now time for a quick break. Catch you after.
Okay, cool. Cut. Shay, we're done.
Now
We're done because we don't have Eric for the next part.
you can call Eric.
What? The whole thing?
Let me ask Eric.
No, it's fine. We don't need.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. What? Sorry.
Okay. This desk is quite squeaky. I hope that hasn't been picked up too much.
I couldn't hear.
I couldn't hear.
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
That's cool.
So it's done.
I'm not sure.
Really?
Well, just for 10 seconds. All this.
Yeah.
I can pretend to be Eric, I don't mind.
Actually, yeah.
We're here already.
Can you hear me? Hey, guys. She can pretend, Eric.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Anta, wake up. Is it romance?
I'm gonna do it again.
Come here, babe. One more, yeah?
Cool. Is it?
He's alive, isn't he?
It doesn't show up into my stuff. Oh, you have to get the whole thing. You ran on as well. I didn't move the thing. Hold on. Oh, it's proper secure on it, so. Hello?
Yeah?
Okay, so we're gonna do it again because it was Jay's first time doing the gallery things, but so he just wants to get like the hang of it. And when you know when you point to the cameras,
Yep.
could you only point to 2 and 3 because 1 is only on Zaza, so it
Okay.
can't see you.
So yeah, it's not gonna.
Yeah. And would you be okay to do Eric's part just for
Yeah,
now?
yeah, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Just so we know how the script goes and.
Yeah? There. Oh, cool, cool, like that?
And like, when I'm talking to Nick, does it look bad if I'm like turning
Yeah,
to
we need
him?
I think we're gonna work more of that out. No, but because she's reading off the
'Cause-
auto cue.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Well, I can't tell what it looks like on the. So it
And-
looks okay. Okay. Did you hear that?
A bit. I
So,
didn't hear the end.
Like, you know what you were doing before, where you're kind of just like looking back and forth. Just that's fine. Apparently, that looks okay. So.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Are we doing it again then? shouldn't count back in because then there's just going to be like a break.
So we should just
Just like
Yeah,
just
we'll just
go.
yeah.
Yeah, because yours is the first like
Yeah.
straight